Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland. Thanks for coming back to my channel. Well, this is about William Jefferson Hague, Lord Hague, who became Chancellor of Oxford University a few months ago. And he is really unworthy of the office that he holds. There's many offices that he holds. So, if you know, in case you know who he was, well, is born 1961, and as he never fails to remind us, in Yorkshire. That's the largest county in England. Is in northeast England. Born into a family, was it lower middle class? Was the upper end of working class? So he really plays the class card. And he went to a comprehensive school. That's to say, it's funded by taxpayers, and people of all abilities go there. And very unusually for someone from that background at that time, he went to Oxford University in 1979. He joined the Conservatives as a teenager, and he got off to a flying start by addressing the 1977 Conservative Party conference. You can see it on YouTube, saying he wants to roll back the frontiers of socialism. And some of you won't be here in 20 years' time. And they got applause for that because they're mostly old. But I will, and I want to be free. So some of them are saying, bastard, bastard, bastard. So jealous because he had such a magnificent debut in the Tory party. He was guaranteed a big future, and going to Magdalen College, Oxford, one of his grander colleges, reading philosophy, politics, and economics, and then doing an MBA in something or other, and working for McKinsey and Co., a sort of a snake oil salesman of management consultancy. He did come back and advise Oxford about how to sort of raise loads of funds in the 1980s. Very successful, and elected to Parliament in 1989. In 1989, he was only 28. So he only worked outside politics for 6 years in his whole life. So there's nothing to contribute, really, just being a permanent politician. But he is a consummate politician, and I mean that in a bad way, is he's deeply disingenuous. When he was asked a question, I could see his mind whirring, like, what's the astute answer to this one? He'd often deal with things obliquely. You wouldn't get a straight answer out of him. So it was all so false, so studied, so loathsome. The other thing is, he's got no bedrock beliefs. Why did he join the Conservative Party? I'm not quite sure. Maybe he's a bit more conservative than Labour. Someone from his background and living in Yorkshire, Labour would have been perhaps the easier party to join. Although in rural Yorkshire, the Conservative Party was still pretty strong in his childhood. What else? Maybe he thought there's actually an advantage. The Conservative Party was seen as too posh and too Southern English. So by being Northern English and by saying he was working class, that helped him because they had to say, well, do have some working class people, and so on. But he's never shown much interest in education. What motivates in politics? Because I knew Kirsty McNeil, a Labour MP, said she's about child poverty. People might be about fiscal responsibility. Some people would care about national defence or something. Might care about the unity of the United Kingdom. Might want the UK to be in the European Union. Might want it to leave the European Union. There might be a driving issue for you, or maybe a few of them. With Hague, there isn't that. What makes him tick is he wanted to achieve high office, and he has done. So he was a terrible leader of the Conservative Party, admittedly during a difficult time. So 1997 to 2001, and he wasn't kicked out because nobody else wanted it. It was a very difficult situation to take over, but he chose at 36 and led to the party to a very heavy defeat. I know Sunak's done even worse. His successor as the MP for Richmond and Yorkshire. So Hague is very false. There are all these people saying that he's gay, that his marriage to Fionn Hague is a lavender relationship. And when rumors come out about him being gay, he then says, "Oh well, we tried to have children, but she had a miscarriage or something." I've no idea if it's true or not. It wouldn't reflect any discredit on him whatsoever, who is homosexual. I can see why it wouldn't come out in the 1980s, but why would he not come out in more recent times when it wouldn't do him any harm whatsoever? I mean, it might even do him some good. On the other hand, people might say, "Well, you've been lying for so long." Yeah, and he lies to the public. He has shamelessly reneged on electoral promises. I remember the Conservatives. They said I think in the 2009 European election, say, and if we win the general election next year, we will we will hold a referendum on the Treaty of Lisbon. They got into office and then shamelessly broke that promise. And I can see Hague now in the House of Commons say, well, we're not going to do it for whatever reason, and just completely unembarrassed about lying to the public again, about destroying public trust in politics. He's a low down, filthy, lying scumbag, treacherous vermin, just repellent. him and Hague and all the other smarmy traitors. So then, when he came into office in 2010, he was a foreign secretary under David Cameron, but they cut funding for Sure Start, which was this scheme to help children early in these schools. So that doesn't seem like somebody who cares about education. Obviously, going to particularly impact people from lower socioeconomic groups and things like that. Um, so yeah, he has never cared about education. He so often voted for education cuts. Another thing is he's quite politically correct now, and Oxford University is a very woke university. But in 2003, he voted to keep Section 23 of the Local Government Act. Now, Section 23 of the Local Government Act was passed there in the 1980s under Margaret Thatcher, and that was to say that homosexuality must not be promoted as any pretended family relationship. Well, can it be a pretend? Can it be a family relationship? I mean, I know two gay men, and they raise their adopted son, and they seem to be fantastic parents, as far as I could tell. He's better off with them than he would be being brought up in an orphanage. So they are a family, certainly in the emotional sense. I mean, not in the biological sense. So I suppose they can be a family like that. Obviously, same-sex marriage wasn't even contemplated into the 1980s. Okay, you might say not encourage it as a family relationship, all right? But most people would say that was really shocking and retrograde that he voted for that. And now he has to be very PC. Why did he do it? Because it was going to appeal to a certain segment of his party. So there is no backbone with him. He's not doing things, not there to serve the public. He's all out for himself, and he has succeeded in that resoundingly. Anyway, he's always voted to increase university fees, and then he's always will bang on and on and on about how he came from a comprehensive school in Yorkshire, but doing nothing to help people from a similar background, things like that. So he is a scumbag politician. He's a stereotype of someone who is a careerist, who's an arriviste, who really has no conscience about whatsoever. Goodness. So yeah, Hague is totally hypocritical. Hague is responsible for the Libyan civil war. Remember, so that's when the European Union and indeed NATO was bombing Libya because there's this insurgency, people trying to overthrow Muammar Gaddafi, the so-called brotherly guide of the revolution of the great socialist Libyan Arab people's Jamahuriya. Now, I know Gaddafi was a tyrant, but by 2011, he had reformed. He wasn't a threat to others. So why help him? And, the United Nations resolution saying to use force to protect civilians. But NATO and EU countries were effectively acting as the air force of the rebels. Gaddafi was overthrown, and I was against intervention again. Does it get better after Gaddafi or not? I don't know. But as we don't know, let's not risk it. The safest thing is to do nothing. Had that not happened, Gaddafi probably would have saved his regime. Would he have killed a lot of civilians? Quite possibly he would have, but then the war would have been over. And here we are, 14 years later, and it's still going on, the Libyan civil war, and there's no end in sight. And that's because of Hague. I mean, so if you're not sure, stay out. The default setting has got to be to stay out. If you can't make it better, at least don't make it worse. And he's completely unapologetic about that. Now, he is a bit more genuine. You see the real Hague a bit more, as he's no longer in frontline politics. So he's got no strength of character. He's done nothing to help people really throughout his life. Yeah, he's completely driven by self-interest, and he has not done anything to improve education. Some of them in education cuts. And I know you could cut spending on education in some areas without reducing the quality of education, but all the time he has done so. You could avoid the education cuts. You could have made the rich pay a little bit more. You could have cut spending in other areas. You could have borrowed more. A combination of any of these things, but no. For Hague, I mean, education is at the lowest possible priority. He just wants to wear that uniform. It's all about self-esteem for him. It's all about showing off and getting his name on whatever wall to say, yeah, list him as one of the chancellors of Oxford University to tick it off up the cursus honorum. So he is slimy enough to slip up the greasy pole. He has always failed upwards. So a just repellent specimen, a stereotype of a greasy politician. Well, sadly, he's going to be there for a very long time. Why did he win? I'm guessing simply name recognition. In a way, it's a bit surprising the Conservative one, as it's quite an anti-Conservative place. It is now. You might say, well, why did so many Tories win before then? But I mean, Mandelson is even more nauseating, and I know that is a high bar to clear. So who else would there be? The others complete unknowns, like me, for example. So remember, a lot these are Oxford graduates of all ages, middle-aged, older people are not so anti-Tory. Well, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe to me on Patreon, georgecallahan7@gmail.com, and do what you can to tell Hague what a rat he is.